you guys doing
Wow.
out there?
This is dedication, buddy. Sitting in the car pulling this live stream off. Look at you, man. Good
Telling you,
job.
I'm telling you. Yeah. Up in Woodland Hills, beautiful Woodland Hills.
Nice. Well, we can talk about that
So,
when you get off.
yeah, yeah. So, guys, thanks for coming. As you can see, we are on the run. It's a busy Monday, and we're here for you, Real Estate Reality, the live stream, in my car, and Darren at home. And we're going to talk about three things. It's a shortened broadcast for us because we do need to get going. But first off, Darren, Art Unite, it was a success.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Uh,
It was a very nice event, connecting with a lot of people. I mean, it was a success on two levels, Joe.
yeah.
First off, thanks for putting it together. It was fantastic. We brought in a lot of people. The number one success to me is a lot of people got to connect and see each other, and it was a nice social event. And those
Yeah.
connections are so important for feeling good
Yeah.
about living in community.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's great. And how did the numbers turn out?
So I think there's still like 100, 150 still out there for you two that need to pay. Please pay. But the good news is we are at $17,230. So definitely a success in that way. The goal was 15,000, and everybody came to the party. Like you said, had a good time, and it was good for the CCAC crew and for the kids and families that they help support. So thank you to all the artists. Thank you for the audience and the community that was there for them. And like you said, Darren, just overall great event. It's our third year. We've had a little adversity last year, but I was telling my wife, it made me think, gee, if we did this, maybe I'm shooting too low. Maybe we need to say 100,000 next year, or something nutty, and it'll just happen. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I'd like to believe that, Joe. If you just put it out there, it happens. The universe
Yeah,
responds. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, it was great. Everybody was so thankful. There are a couple people that we just kept saying, "Hey, thanks for being here," because like we're trying to pull this together, and their
sure,
response was pretty consistently just, "No, thank you for doing this."
right,
It really is for a good cause and a good group that gives back in so many ways,
yeah.
and
For
helps.
50 some odd years, by the way. I mean,
Oh
this is
yeah,
not some new thing.
and they have a core component of
Mm,
integrating, right? They have a certain group that they're trying to integrate and mainstream and connect and assimilate in our economy, our society, and gosh, man, like that's another something that even needs more focus in today's crazy world where people are
yeah.
dividing more. So good for them. I support integration all day long.
Now, the other thing we want to talk about is, of course, real estate. And, I don't have my fancy legalese with me, but everything we talk about, it really is about buyer beware. These are simply opinions of ours and information for you to take and consider it yourself. So, but we do want to talk about a new listing, a beautiful new listing in Echo Park. Darren, as I bring it up, you can go ahead and talk about it.
Sure. 1216 Lilac Place. A truly special home, situated amongst trees, and Dodger Stadium.
Yeah,
We basically say architecture, nature, and baseball. Boy, if those three ring a bell for you, this is absolutely your house. And it could even be maybe two of three. The
yep,
reality is baseball's there. So if it's not your greatest joy, it's at least you have to have tolerance for being in the environment. But the house is amazing. I don't.
yep,
The only concern we got with people there were baseball and the vacant lot next door.
yep,
So other than that, no one had a negative comment to say about the house itself. It was wonderfully designed by the current owner, who's owned it for 30 years,
mm-hmm,
raised her kids there, and the flow is amazing. The connection to the outdoors, the volume of windows and light, both externally, which you can see in those photos, but also internal windows, which I love.
right,
So it's a great house. So much so that we're going to, it's going to be a short run here on exposure. We're
Yeah.
going to start looking at offers tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we will be there
Yeah.
today from 3 to 4:30 again, just to try to meet the needs of getting as many people in as we can.
Yeah. And for those that are quick on the draw, we are open tomorrow 11 to 2. But as Darren said, yes, offers will be reviewed right after open house. So, yeah, check it
Right.
out. It's a great house. And Darren, I said it to you. I'll just say it to everyone here. This house is so strong. Normally, the Urban Hillsides way is to stage everything, you know, but this is such a strongly designed home. The photos show so well. It really says a lot about what was done here.
They do, and being present, being in the space it mimics the photos, and it probably even feels better to be there than the
Yeah,
photos can even display.
yeah, yeah. All right, so there you go, a new listing. Uh, the next thing we want to talk about is something, Darren, you found about banning wood. What's this all about? I'll pull up the article and I'll send it
Sure.
out. But go ahead.
Yeah, fascinating. This was something I saw in passing. We're always paying attention and trying to just, keep people informed, keep you up to date on some trends that are being considered. Certainly in Los Angeles, we're a very progressive city, and they're trying to do whatever we can from a progressive stance, both in regards to housing costs as well as navigating our climate change environment. And one of the issues here in Los Angeles is fire, right? We're in an area where that is potentially the biggest issue we're going to have from climate change, and that's fire. So I saw this article, Los Angeles gearing up to ban wood frame construction. There are some negatives, and this is absolutely not a done deal. So
Right.
I'm not going there, not freaking out in any way. But it's something to be aware of, and something to maybe voice your opinion on. Because sometimes when there are big changes, those changes will have both a positive and negative effect, and that's what this article goes into.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so,
So
did you want to
basically,
read it, Joe? Or did you just want to summarize it?
we can. Well, here it's pretty quick. Let me read it real quick, and we can stop when we want to make a point. Over
Okay.
the summer, the Los Angeles City Council Public Safety Committee approved a proposal to expand Fire District 1, an anachronistic planning overlay that would effectively ban wood frame construction in much of the city. Superficially premised as a measure to improve fire safety, the motion has been heavily promoted by special interests in the concrete industry, who would heavily benefit from the prohibition. Yet, as less partial observers have pointed out, the motion would significantly increase the cost of constructing housing in Los Angeles to no clear fire safety benefit. In most U.S. cities, fire safety is ensured by the International Building Code, which sets strict rules on allowable building materials and methods. Thanks to its provisions, uncontrolled structured fires, to say nothing of fire deaths, are now rare in Los Angeles. Fire District 1 is a fossil from a time before the IBC, adopted nearly 150 years ago. The district, which covers downtown and portions of Hollywood, principally serves to ban timber and wood frame construction, building materials otherwise permitted under the IBC subject to certain safety provisions. The motion currently winding its way through the City Council would expand Fire District 1 to neighborhoods with a population density of 5,000 residents per square mile, with nearly all of Los Angeles comfortably above 5,000 residents per square mile. This expansion would effectively ban timber and wood frame construction in much of the city, including many rapidly growing neighborhoods near transit. Instead, developers would be forced to use concrete and steel, building materials that come with substantial added financial and environmental costs. According to a report by the Los Angeles Department of Building and Safety, expanding Fire District 1 would raise building material costs by anywhere from 10.6 to 47.1%. The authors add that this would make many income-restricted housing projects, so desperately needed right now, financially infeasible. Indeed, as my UCLA colleague Shane Phillips points out, Forcing all projects to use concrete or steel would make many low and mid-rise multifamily projects outright unworkable, suppressing housing supply at a time when our city faces an acute housing shortage. The expansion would also increase the environmental impact of Los Angeles development, where wood is a renewable resource that captures carbon. Concrete and steel construction entails significant greenhouse gas emissions. With mass timber construction finally making headway on the U.S., head-rise construction would soon be significantly greener, if the Los Angeles City Council doesn't ban it. At a time when the Los Angeles city leaders talk a big game about combating climate change, it's ironic that they are gearing up to ban some of the greenest building materials we have available. If expanding Fire District 1 is so transparently ill-advised, why is it moving forward? Notably, nobody involved has even bothered to make the case that this change would have real fire safety benefits. And why should they? The motion is being advanced by and for business and labor interests in the concrete industry, which has aggressively promoted this measure as a way to ban competition. Outside of this singular special interest group, a broad coalition of environmentalists, affordable housing advocates, and neighborhood councils have condemned the motion, fearing the disastrous implications for in environmental sustainability. Few would doubt the need for robust fire safety or strict building standards, but the reality is that the expanding Fire District 1 improvises or improves upon neither. On the contrary, it pulls Los Angeles out of widely respected building standards, which ensure safety and safe wood frame construction, and forecloses the possibility of mass timber construction altogether. The motion is now in the council's Planning and Land Use Management Committee. So far, the rest of the council has largely gone along, perhaps uninterested in dry changes to the building code and blasé about its harmful implications for Los Angeles. With any luck, that will soon change. My God, this sounds so stupid.
Well, I like anything else, everything gets marketed, right? It's not simply, this is good. Let's just do it. So early on to see concrete and steel industry supporting this makes sense. They're pushing to have that marketed.
Yeah.
Every if there's an industry that's going to benefit from a shift, they're probably going to help promote a direction. And as soon as you tie that into something that's going to resonate with progressives, less fire, of course we want this. Please, all I can say is please read the details. One thing is for sure, costs will rise.
Oh my gosh, 47.1, up to 47.1%.
For sure. And it will, there'll be other costs that'll be associated with it. There'll be, material access. Once you change a system, things just become more complicated. It's not saying there isn't potential gain from it. I will say this though, like we recently had a transaction. We have a new disclosure in real estate that started this year in the middle of the year called defensible space. And it's an additional layer for evaluating fire safety when you sell homes in a high fire zone. But there's a gradient there, and in reading through it, what it comes down to is that they're determining areas which are most likely to need that defensible space. And much of LA, which has easier access in the denser areas to fire and fire hydrants, and when things can be addressed more quickly and surmise, and there's more development, it's less likely. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but it's less likely for things to become a bigger issue. But this defensible space law is in place in areas, and it's a requirement when you sell a property then to determine if they need to make adjustments in the space to prevent fire. If it's in a more rural area, if you're surrounded by trees and firefighters can't get there.
Well, I was going to say, I know we're digressing a bit. It's a good example, but considering the home location that we're talking about, it doesn't seem anywhere near any brush or fire, but it's right there on the edge.
It's hills, and it's close to, it's a winding street to get up there. There are 200 homes around there, and when they built those 200 homes, I
Yeah.
guarantee you they were required to bring in large water lines, put in fire hydrants for access and accessibility, and meet sustainable components on the construction of the spaces themselves, which were more modern already. So I think there's a gradient that we need to move in that direction. I'm not disputing that. Don't get hung up on a singular topic and not understand the impact it's going to have. And the
Right.
secondary, the cost of increasing building will increase the cost of housing. And as they mentioned in that article, the cost of renting tremendously. Both
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, I hope it doesn't go through. And as you're saying, these are special interests. You know, I know there are other ways to build in this town and in this nation and in this world. I hope they're getting some due here when we're thinking about all of this.
I just always feel like with all of these bills, the biggest frustration with government is it serves a huge purpose to bring some balance, but I always feel like it's not one way or the other. There's a middle place that makes sense.
Yeah.
If you hit a certain amount of units, if you hit, if you're X amount from a fire hydrant, or volume of trees, or et cetera, et cetera. If the road is X narrow, and there are things that can come up that can be utilized. I like the conversation and the topic, and what it's trying to prevent, but what's the motivation, and what will it really do, and what are the negative impacts that come along with it. This, as it stands, as it's kind of being discussed, doesn't seem appropriate at this time without some serious adjustments.
Okay. Well, I do hope the council members do study this a bit further, and turns out right. So,
Cool.
all right. Well, great guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks for the shortened version. Taking in. I see 3 of you out there. Thanks for joining us. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.